Welcome to another episode of The Free Black Woman. I am Alecia Renece, and I am a free black woman. Yay! I hope this video finds you well. I hope you're doing okay during this time of quarantining and just social distancing and just trying to stay healthy. But let's get into today's episode. So we're going to actually talk about what freedom actually means. What does it mean to be free? And do we really know? Do we really know as black women what it means to be free? For so long, and again, I'm speaking from a black woman in America. For so long, I feel like we have been used to living under oppression. We have been used to living under the rulers of this world. We have been used to being oppressed and silenced, navigating the world, thinking about not just ourselves and not having the privilege of just thinking about ourselves, but also about our families and our friends and actually the whole black race as a whole, right? And I say this because as someone who went to a PWI, which is a predominantly white institution, if you don't know, so you have HBCUs and you have PWIs. I went to a PWI, and there were often times I would be the only black person in my class. And so I felt this pressure to represent the whole black race. And I know, as we all know, all black experiences are not the same. They're not created equal. But we can all identify with this idea of being a black woman, right? And so everything I did was not for me. Like, it wasn't for me. Even going to school wasn't for me. I'm still representing my mother. I'm still representing my grandmother. And for a lot of people who are maybe like first generation to get a degree, it's like you have the whole weight of your whole family on your back, right? So even this, and so we're proud of it and we're happy to do it, but it's still this idea that we're not really free. We don't really have the freedom to mess up and screw up as other people do have that room to do. Because one, it looks bad as a black person. When we see something bad happen on TV, it's like, oh my God, I hope they weren't black. And then if they are, they're like, oh my God, like, you just set us back however much time. It's this pressure that a lot of black people, I won't say all, because it's not all black people feel it, but a lot of black people, I know I feel it, to represent their people well. When I go to a restaurant and say I get horrible service, they get my food wrong, the waitress or waiter has an attitude with me, they seem like they neglect me, I feel afraid to voice my experiences or my opinions because I'm afraid of being labeled as an angry black woman, right? A bitter black woman. Oh, here goes a black woman with another problem. When in reality, I have all the right to be angry, to not necessarily be angry, but to voice my concerns. Like, hey, you're not really giving me the care that I want to receive while I'm paying you money to eat. Then this pressure of tipping. This idea has been spread that black people are cheap and they don't tip. And so even if you got horrible service, you still have to tip because you're representing a whole race. You don't want to set your race back. And I've been in that dilemma so many times, and I always overtip. I always overdo it. 20% is the minimum for me. Like, cause y'all not gonna believe that black people don't tip, cause that's a lie. A lot of black people tip, and a lot of white people don't tip. Trust me, I've had white customers as a server who do not tip or do not tip well. So just this narrative that's been told in so many, or different narratives that's been told, we feel like we have to undo them, and it's a burdening thing to feel like you have to represent your whole race. If I want to eat watermelon, right? Not that I necessarily like watermelon, but if I want to eat watermelon, I'm looking around to make sure ain't no white people around, because this racist thought that like, oh, all black people like watermelon and fried chicken. And yes, I love fried chicken. You know what I'm saying? But like, what does that have to do with me being black? And again, it's a silly example, but these are just small examples of how black people, but especially black women specifically, because I'm speaking as a black woman, have had to navigate the world without that freedom. Without that freedom. It doesn't just look like slavery. It doesn't just look like, being incarcerated, for my incarcerated folk out there. No, it's the weight and the pressure that comes along with carrying your race. And so the question was presented to me, what is freedom? And do black people really know what freedom is? And if we don't know what freedom is, how do we really seek out that freedom? I'm gonna have notes, so I'm gonna glance down every once in a while. But do we really know? And can we create our own freedom? And I feel like that's what black people have done for years, right? We've created our own joys. We've created our own parties. People were too broke to pay the rent. What we do, we throw a rent party. You know what I'm saying? We've always been creative and ways to enjoy oppression, not enjoy oppression, but enjoy ourselves in oppression. And for a lot of us have been oppressed for so long that we don't even recognize the the slavery or the bondage we're in, because we're so used to surviving and creating our own joys, creating our own freedoms, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful thing. I think it speaks of the resilience of Black people. It speaks of the creativity of Black people. But a lot of us are still like living traumatized day to day, and it's not our fault. So the question I pose to you is like, what do you have control of? What do you have control of? Because the fact of the matter is, and I hate to sound pessimistic, but I don't put my trust in this system to give me freedom. I don't. Because again, that freedom that we can't give our little boys and our little girls, we tell them, don't act like this, don't dress like this, or else they'll think this about you. That's bondage. They can't even be like, even if it's cold outside and you're wearing a hoodie, you're worried about looking like a suspect or suspicious, right? That's an example of how people are not free. People are not free here. So within the system, which is broken, what do we have control of? Like, how can we free ourselves? Sometimes freeing yourself may look like getting mad at the restaurant and being okay with being labeled as an angry Black woman. Because at the end of the day, what other people do think about you, even though it might hurt, that doesn't really define who you are. It defines who you are to some people, but to yourself, as long as you have knowledge of self and like this idea of who you are free. If you say you're free, you are free. Even if you're locked up, if you are free, you are free. You know what I mean? And it's the freedom that we have to define ourselves, which is why I wanted to create this project, because so long we've been labeled from the world, and also we've been labeling our sisters as these same titles because of what the world says is normal and what's not normal. And it's like, that's trash. Like, why would we ever use a system that's been used to oppress us as a means to define who we are and to rate our worthiness? That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make any sense. My story of freedom is still being written. I know there are a lot of ways that I'm still in bondage. I have to unlearn a lot of things that I thought were normal. We'll talk about further in more episodes, but a lot of things that I thought were normal are really just ways of oppressing myself and remaining in bondage. And when I try to like buck the system or like to remove myself from it, that's when I got a lot of feedback. I got a lot of, oh, you don't want to do it. You're going to shake things up. You're going to shake things up. And so for so long, Black people had been tiptoeing and walking on eggshells to not stir things up, to not, I think about my ancestors who lived in the era of Jim Crow, who couldn't stir things up, right? Who just had to like suck salt and take it, right? And we've been trained to do the same thing. And us speaking up for ourselves almost becomes offensive to other people, even other Black people, right? It's like, you stirring up the pot too much. You're making it bad for me here. Like, I'm good. No one's bothering me. But you don't even realize that you're sitting under oppression, right? How many people have lived in horrible circumstances in their lives and accepted that as the normal? Because they had to survive. They had to get by. And so when someone says, hey, this isn't right, this is actually horrible conditions, a person might look at them and be like, you're ungrateful, you're disrespectful, and you're shaking things up, and you're entitled. And it's like, no, you deserve good things. You deserve good things. And someone jolting you awake to that reality is sometimes painful, because you realize, wow, I've been taking crap that I didn't have to take. And again, I understand the privilege that we have now as people in this generation that our ancestors did not have. And I want to use that privilege that I have to hopefully free other people in the same way that I am becoming free, in the same way that I am unlearning, in the same way that I am unburdening myself and unburdening my friends and hopefully my children in the future, my grandchildren. I don't want them to come up to realize that bondage is normal. It's not. I want to show them how broken the system is and to give them the tools to free themselves, and as I am becoming free. So this is not just, this is an experiment. This is me sharing my journey to freedom, but it's also other women sharing their journeys to freedom. And really defining what freedom is, and what it looks like to be free in a system that oppresses you. That's the research. That's the work. And I'm really excited to share this journey. And yeah, I hope this is helpful. I hope this is encouraging and it's getting you to think about, in what ways are you not free? In what ways are you burdening yourself? What things feel heavy to you that you don't want a part of your life, that you've just accepted as normal for everyday life, and it doesn't have to be. You have a choice. You have a choice now. For some things you don't, and I get it. If some people are ill and they can't just rid themselves of that illness, like they just can't will it away, but some things we do have a say in. Some things we do have a say in. Is this what I want to do? For me and my husband, and for a lot of other people out there, a lot of other Black women who I can't wait to share their stories. I know a woman, her name is Lisa. I'll share her information. She RVs, and she left a life in DC, like the DC Black professional lifestyle, and gave like everything, like just became a whole new person and started full-time RVing. And she built her own life for herself, and like she calls herself untethered, which I love. That just like untethered, like not, and I'm not referring to the movie Us. I'm speaking of like just not being tethered to things, right? This lifestyle was not serving her, and she woke up to herself, and not, putting other people down, but just saying, hey, this isn't the life I want to live. I don't want to do this. I want to get in my RV and drive away. And it actually took her, unfortunately, like her father passed, and she came to this realization, I don't want to be in the same place I am today. I want to do something new. I want to try something different. So I can't wait to share her story with you. But there are so many ways that women are charting out their own freedoms, charting out their own definitions of themselves, and taking hold of this privilege that we have today. Because while we're not all the way free, no, we're not all the way free. But while we're not all the way free, I know that there's a privilege that I had that my great grandmother did not have. And I'm trying to use that privilege for good. And if it sets other people free as well, that would be amazing. That would be amazing. So even if I don't set people free here on this platform, I can set, if I have babies, I can set them free, and help them to love themselves. Like, we're just conditioned from such a young age to hate everything about ourselves, to get everything fixed, to throw things away, to buy more stuff, to be worthy. And it's so twisted. And not to knock my sisters out there with like perms and stuff like that, but when I got a perm when I was younger, it was out of frustration. And I don't think my mother meant anything bad about it, but she just wanted something that was easy to do. And so what that taught me about my hair was that my hair is a frustrating thing. It is something that needs to be fixed. It is something that takes too much time. It is something that is a burden. And so if I have baby girls, I want them to know, like, it might take me an hour to do your hair, but you're worthy of that hour. You're worthy of that time. You're worthy of that energy it takes to do that. You know what I'm saying? That's the difference. And it's because we've been conditioned to believe that we are a burden. And I'm learning this in every area of my life. And I'm sorry if I get very passionate. I'm not sorry. I get very passionate. And even that, like, apologizing for my passion, because I don't want to come across as like this fiery Black woman. Why not? I'm passionate about it. And I'm super passionate about Black women. And I'm going to share that passion. And so, like I said, the small example about the hair, and now, like, even when I'm doing my hair, I have to tell myself, Alecia, stop getting frustrated with your hair. It's a beautiful crown that God gave you to take care of. And I can do a bunch of things. I can lock it. I can straighten it. I can, leave it in a fro. Like, it defies gravity. Like, it's a beautiful thing. And there are beautiful things about you, even if your hair isn't natural. There are beautiful things about you that the society tells us to change all the time. And society, which is run by white folk, is even telling us what the ideal Black woman looks like. And we believe it. We believe if we don't have big booties or, big breasts, that we're somehow not fitting the Black woman norm. And it wasn't even a norm created by Black women. It's marketing, and it works, and it's sad because it's aided me in hating myself. And that is not freedom. I didn't expect to go here, but I went there. And these are all different things that we're going to talk about, that we're going to explain. And I'm not knocking, again, people who have work done, whatever. That's your decision. But I know for me, if I got work done, it wouldn't be from a place of acceptance of like, oh yeah, I like my body, but I want to add this. It would be from a place of like, I hate my body and I hate this. I hate this because I don't look like that. When I was a baby, like a baby as in like a child, quick story, I used to cut up magazines. I used to cut up magazines of what I thought ideal features for Black women look like. They would have like hazel eyes, they'd be light skinned, they would have straight hair, their body would be just like flawless and perfect. And little did I know that was Photoshop back then, right? As a photographer now, I see, oh, okay, this is actually not real. This is a lie. And some people have been blessed with bodies like that. Wonderful. But I would cut these pictures out. I would put them on a paper, and I would pray to God every night to make me look like this when I wake up. Talk about self-hatred. Every night I would pray and cry, and I would wake up and look at myself in the mirror, and I would see myself and I would cry, and I would get so angry. I would get so down about myself, like, God, why did you create me like this? I'm so ugly. I'm hideous. I'm hideous. And I feel like I'm about to cry, but like, I believe that. I believe that with everything in me. And I just think about how many other girls did the same thing. You know what I mean? And had work done from a place of self-hatred as opposed to a place of like, oh, well, this might be nice, whatever, or a person who might have to get that done to be acceptable in the eyes of the powers that be. And it's heartbreaking. It's gut-wrenching. And I never want my people, my babies, my friends, my family, none of them to ever feel that way, that they are not beautiful. That God made a mistake with them. Number one, I was like 11. So like I was a child, but even I didn't grow up into what I thought, I wanted to look like when I was little. And I have trouble now finding myself beautiful. I do. Ask my husband, I find flaws in myself all the time, and I pick myself apart, and I'm just like, where did this come from? Where did this idea that I wasn't enough come from? And a lot of it can come from marketing. It can come from parents. Just a side note, like my mom doesn't like something on her body, and I had the same thing. And so hearing her talk down so much about this part on her body that she doesn't like made me, in turn, think that something was wrong with my part of the body that I had from her, that I inherited from her, so she's telling me, oh, you're beautiful and whatever, but I hear her beating herself down and about something that she doesn't like about her body, and I had that same thing. So you think I'm really listening to her telling me that I'm beautiful? No, I'm looking at myself as flawed. And so because I know how that affected me, I know that if I have baby girls, I have to talk about myself in a way that's freeing, that's affirming, that's coming from a place of love, because it's not do as I say. It's babies do as they see. You know what I mean? And so I want my baby girls to know that they're beautiful, to know that without a shadow of a doubt, there's no flaw on you. There is no mistake. There's no mistake. You are knitted together. The Bible says you are knitted together. You know how much care and time it takes to knit somebody, like to knit something? I crochet, I don't knit, but I know each stitch, there's different kinds of stitches. Each stitch matters. If one stitch is off, then the whole thing is off, right? Care and effort. It took 9 months to make you. 9 months to make you. Some people are born before then, and maybe God was like, oh, I'm done, But no, like it took 9 months to make you, and to make you so perfectly and heavenly in his eyes. Like you're literally made in the image of God, right? And we know this on paper, but we tear down ourselves all the time. And therefore, are we not tearing down God? And not saying that we should put that pressure on ourselves, but what are we saying about our Creator? That he made a mistake. God, you're holy. There's no flaw in you, but you're flawed by how you made me. So therefore there is flaw in you, and it clashes. It can't exist, And if we are to respect other people because they're made in the image of God, are we not saying something about God and them when we clown them or we tell them they're ugly and all this other stuff? Like, anyway, I'm ranting at this point, but I am on a mission. I'm on a mission to spread this fiery passion that I have to other people, to have Black women heard and respected and honored because they are worthy. Because you are worthy. I don't care what nobody told you. You are worthy. People have made me feel like garbage. People have made me want to kill myself. But you are worthy. So I get it. I get it. I get it. But you are worthy. Even when it doesn't feel like it, you are worthy. And I just kind of want to get this point across. Like, every person I come in contact with, I want them to feel like they're worthy. I want them to feel like they matter. I'm sorry, because I know what it feels like to not. I know what it feels like to feel like you don't, to feel like you're an option, to feel like you're a burden, like you were born a burden. And it's not true. It's not true. So, as we journey along, I'm hoping that the stories that are told, the experiences, the tips, the passion that is shared lights a fire in you to, one, love yourself, but also to love others. And hopefully to love the God that made you. You know, I'm the creator that made all of us in his image. So yes, so thanks for this time. Thanks for listening. Thanks for letting me be my fiery, passionate self. And until next episode, I will talk to y'all soon. Bye.